Hi, friends. Welcome to Lotus in the Light. My name's Jennifer. It's been a minute since I've been on. I've been traveling for work, and um, I'm going to pull out a deck, Sacred Rebels Oracle. And while I get a card here, I'll just say um, there have been some moments when I wasn't able to record that I felt motivated, but then later when I had the time, I did not feel as motivated or called. So I try to honor um, those opportunities when I feel called and feel joy about it, because then I know that I'm in a divine and connected state of um, consciousness. That is now. So let's see what spirit has in store for us. I have I had an experience that I'm hoping to share about. Okay, three fell out. Okay. So I'm just gonna, three fell out. I'm just gonna start at the top. We'll see if the other two come into play. So this is a 24. It says new birth, guarded vigilantly. You can see the butterfly on her shoulder. Her eyes are a little closed, or her eyes are closed. The transformation is happening. This is a 24, which breaks down to a 6. So this is like after, it's like we've just come through a cycle of um, conflict, which this channel, for whatever reason, this channel sees a lot of that. We get a lot of fives, a lot of those experiences of conflict, and it's usually a lot of inner conflict. And I say that because all conflict is inner conflict. If you're experiencing external conflict, it's because you're experiencing internal conflict, right? And so sometimes the external is just mirroring what's happening inside. Our external experiences, we manifest those energetically because they're helping us work through whatever's going on in here. So the new birth, guarded vigilantly, this says to me that you've just worked through some conflict, and now solutions are starting to arise and unfold, and you are being reborn with a different understanding, a new understanding, um, a new enlightenment, if you will. Everything. Life is just nothing but a bunch of cycles, a bunch of seasons. Like, look at how nature unfolds. We have 24 hours in a day. We have 7 days in a week. We have, so there's the cycles of the moon, your cycles of quarter moons and full moons and new moons, and like everything is cyclical, and has its proper time for certain, we need nighttime to rest, to sleep, to generate, for our bodies to generate melatonin, to know it's time for our bodies to rest. All of that is mimicking the spiritual, the divine. And so this is a season of new birth, of new understanding, of new enlightenment. Um, it is a new, almost like a spring season, right? That's what spring is. That's when things start growing from the ground again. Some old has died off through the winter. And now spring is, something's growing anew. And so that's what we have here. The caterpillar has transformed. And with that, I'll just go on to the second card. With that, there is a receiving that's happening. There's a receiving that's happening. This is a 27, so that breaks down to a 9. So um, a 9 is like you're fully receiving it, and you can see she's like it's she's taking it in. It looks like she's drinking it in, she's breathing it in, it's all around her. So whatever this new enlightened energy is, it's everywhere. It's all there. It's just pouring in, I guess is the way. That's what I get from this, is that light is just pouring in. The enlightenment is pouring in. I like using that word, enlightenment. Uh, when I was traveling, so my husband doesn't usually travel with me for work, but he did this time because uh regardless of why. He traveled with me, but I book my travel through my company travel agency when I'm traveling for work. I had to book his flights separately though. So, and we ended up flying out of through one airline and back through another. And I had mistakenly booked his airfare out, and I guess I did not click all the way through to make the purchase on the airfare back. So unknowingly, he did not have a flight back. We figured it out the day before we were coming home. We called the airline. We booked him the flight back that I was already on. We gave them my confirmation number so they could look up the flight. We had them seat him. We're like, what seats are open near me, and whatever. And they said, okay, yeah, we got him in the row behind you, whatever. So we think we're all good. The next day comes, I check in. He can't check in. At first, we just thought it was his app. There was an issue. And then later we realized that they booked him on the wrong day. They booked him to leave the following day after that. So, normally, historically for me, that would have unfolded in like stress and chaos, and for my husband as well. That would have turned into stress, angry, frustrated, probably been snapping at each other, blaming. I mean, I can't say blaming each other because I was the one to blame for it not being booked, no questions asked. But um, that would have unfolded in a lot of negative energy, nervous energy, worried, right? Are we going to get a flight? Am I going to have to change my flight to get on his flight? Is he going to have to take a flight tomorrow? And, just a lot of worry. So, we tried to get him booked on my flight. It didn't work. We tried through the chat app, and then we ended up on the phone with them, and neither in both scenarios they said all that's left is a first class ticket for $3,000. I was like, well, but what was amazing was like my attitude was so different because of a new birth in me, because of a new understanding. I knew, and I come back to scripture from my Christian upbringing that talks about peace that passes understanding. I just knew it was going to be fine. And I didn't know that he was going to get on that flight. I didn't know that we weren't going to have to book something. I didn't know how it was going to unfold. I didn't know the how. But now I understand I never have to know the how. I don't, I just don't have to know. I just know it's going to work out. And I also know that whatever the experience is, there's a lesson in it, and that we are here to have experiences. And if the experiences are always perfect and positive and exactly the way you want them to go, well, that's not really much experience, is it? It's kind of, I think it's kind of stale and boring after a while. I remember when we moved to Florida a few years ago. We're not in Florida any longer, but at one point, I had wanted to move to Southern California, not Florida. And my husband said, well, we can't, the weather's perfect there, and we can't have that every day or we won't appreciate it. And I thought, are you nuts? I'll appreciate it every day. But there's some truth to that, right? Like if everything's perfect all the time, it gets kind of boring. Like you need a little something to happen to spice it up, right? So, and if you think back of your fondest memories of vacations or um, family holidays or whatever, it's those moments where, the turkey burns or grandma says something inappropriate and everybody's like, those kind of things that you can look back on and laugh and feel sweet about how that disastrous event or occasion or thing that happened really is now something memorable that we can cherish. That our holiday doesn't look like, the cleavers, beaver cleaver. I don't know what age of people are watching this, but doesn't look like that, perfect holiday every time or perfect vacation every time. And that's what this life's all about. It's about those experiences. So I just trusted that whatever unfolded was for my highest and best good, whether it was something that I would have perceived negatively or not. And so when they said, well, the only seat left on your flight is first class and it's $3,000. And I said, well, I'm not really looking to pay $3,000 because it was their mistake, right? Like we called, we gave them my confirmation number. They have my flight information. They booked the wrong flight and they told me it was recorded. And I'm like, they should have all that information and be able to go back and see that it wasn't our fault. But I wasn't going to fight either about it because that was just going to put me in a bad mood. It was going to put my husband in a bad mood. It was going to create unnecessary stress. So I said, look, and I will say there's a little bit of privilege in that, right? Like I was in a position that I could pay, I could give them a credit card and pay $3,000 for this ticket just to get home. Cause I told my husband, I said, we'll just buy the ticket and worry about it later. Like we don't have to worry about that right now. Let's not worry at all. Let's just get the ticket and go home, and then we can deal with whatever. Then they weren't able to book the ticket. So by the time that we got to the end of the conversation, she said, oh, the ticket's gone, the seat's gone. It won't let me book anything. And she said, it might just be because it's too close to the flight time, but oh, either that or somebody's bought it. So anyway, we get to the airport. At that point, we were already on the way to the airport, but we get to the airport, we check in, or we, go to the ticket counter, and basically they were able to put my husband on that flight with that last first class seat, and it cost us $946 additional on top of the 500 we paid the night before. But same thing, like I just wasn't going to let it stress me out. It's like, well, we'll deal with that later. But what's interesting is on the way home, I just kept thinking about my relationship with money and how it has changed. That is a much longer message, a much longer video than this if we want to start diving into money. But I'll just say this. I've really just come to understand money to be energy that's really neutral. Like it's not energy that has any preference about whether you have it or not, or that has any preference about whether you have more than somebody else or not, or whether you have enough to pay your bills or not. It's just energy. And we can allow the flow of energy or we can block the flow of energy with our beliefs, with our fears. Um, and in my case, for many years, even though I feel like we've always been fairly financially blessed, I wouldn't say we've been rich by any stretch, but that's subjective, right? So to some people, maybe I was. But we've always had enough, right? And we've always felt very blessed. And now I understand why, because of the relationship that even though I had some very limiting beliefs about money, we were very faithful with our money. We did trust and believe that we would be provided for by God, and we were. And so part of that belief system is why we were blessed, right? But there were some limiting beliefs in that as well. And so anyway, now my belief systems have really changed. I'm like, what do I really believe about this? And the conclusion I came to was that I believe that I kept the momentum of the energy going by putting the money out there. And I have no reason to believe that if I set the intention and the expectation that that money is already coming back to me, that it's going to come back to me. I'm not going to block it by believing anything different, right? Why wouldn't it come back to me? It's not sitting out there saying, she gave me away, so that's it. You lose. You should have hung on to me. That's not how energy works. When you stop the flow of energy, the flow stops. When you let it go, it goes and it keeps coming back and it keeps coming back and it keeps coming back, right? So I'm like, I'm okay with that money being gone. So we get home, we slept for a little bit, whatever. Um, it was a red-eye flight. So we slept a little bit in the morning, got up, I had to work for a while. That evening, I said to my husband, I don't want to go chase this money. It's a good amount of money and money that we didn't plan to spend. I said, but I am no longer of the belief system that I have to chase it. I believe it's already on its way back to us. And for that reason, I don't think it's a good use of my time. And I think that if I spend my time chasing that money, it's because I believe the only way I'm going to recoup that money is if I chase it. And to me, that's not faith. So I'm not interested in chasing down that money. But I told my husband, if you want to do that, I won't, I don't have, we got to make our own decisions for ourselves, right? So if he wants to chase it down, fine. And if he doesn't, that's also fine. Because again, I already believe it's coming back. And that comes from that peace that passes understanding. I just know that we will be taken care of and that money will come back to us one way or another. So long story short, my husband is deciding to pursue it through the airline to try to get our money back. And I think we deserve it. I don't think it was our mistake, but I just don't think I need to chase. That's not how I live anymore. I don't have to chase. I just receive. I give and I receive, right? It's a give take symbiotic relationship with the earth, with spirit, with other people. We are all connected, right? But like there's a flow that's going and I don't need to chase it. So I don't know how I got up on this tangent on this story. Oh, I know, because I just believe that it's part of this new birth of me. It's this new understanding. It's this receiving of peace, this receiving of knowing. I just knew that I just don't need to go chase this. And now I consider it to be a challenge. So I've asked Spirit, and I look up when I say that, but I've asked it, Spirit's everywhere, here, there, everywhere. My Christian background gives me this habit of looking up, but I've just asked Spirit. I was like, let's make this fun. Let's see who gets the money first. Let's see if Spirit brings it back around first, if the energy flows back around first, or if Willie's able to recoup it first. I know where my faith is. I know where I'd put my money, but I'll have to report back on that. Okay. Oh, here we go. Ah, the magician. How apropos is that? So this is Moses parting the Red Sea. Um, and this is a perfect card because this is exactly what I'm talking about. When we continue to do the hard work to shed the beliefs that no longer serve us, to shed the beliefs that have been holding us back, and to heal and to grow, when we do that work and we transform like the butterfly, we receive everything we need to be able to create everything we want to create in life, everything we need to create in life. That's the magician card. I know we put kind of sometimes we put kind of a toxic negative definition around magicians and magic. And I get that because a lot of it is trickery, sleight of hand, and whatever. But there's also a component to magic that's really just about having the spiritual connection, the spiritual resources, the spiritual knowledge and understanding. And it's really just about having the tools and knowing the tools that you have and understanding how to use them. That's how I'll say it, because it's not just about spiritual tools, right? It's about all the tools. Money is a tool. Uh, Energy is a tool. Literally everything that you have is a tool to help you navigate this life. And so understanding your relationship to those things and recognizing what you believe about those things will help you tremendously, because what you do believe about those things is what creates the limits or freeze everything up to work to your advantage. And that, my friend, is what the magician does. The magician knows the tools they have and knows the power of the tools they have and knows how to use them and leverages them. And so that's where we're at. We're growing, we're learning, we're birthing something new. And you're the magician in your life right now. So go make magic happen. Love that for you. Peace out.